Hey, welcome everybody to the TFL podcast for week 9 of the NFL season for Draftstars, NFL DFS. I'm here joined by my fantastic co-host Arch.
Yes.
I almost said co-horse.
Co-horse. Interesting.
That's right. How are you, mate? You doing
know
well?
what I mean. Doing really well. And look, we're, what are we 8 weeks into the season. It's almost halfway. Haven't maybe had the returns I'd like on the DFS season, but I'm here to fight another day. Bankroll management coming in very well for me, Rowan. So we'll be right. We'll be fine.
That's it. Well done. You gotta roll the process. That's it.
Yeah.
Everyone listening, we would love you to find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at the TFL Podcast.
TikTok.
That's it. And if you are watching on YouTube, give us, please, a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, helps us get out there, helps the old algorithms find us. We really appreciate that. Hey, and if you're listening to us on the podcast, a 5-star review doesn't go unnoticed. Give us a little feedback as well. We'd love to hear from you. So
only positive. Only wind blown up my ass, please.
That's it. Tell us how much money you've won because of our advice. That'd be fantastic. So love to hear from you guys as well. If you're on YouTube with us, and if you're not, next week join in, please, and jump in the chat, say hi. It's always good to have an interactive show, so we'd love to hear from you in that space as well. As we said, we are talking about Draftstars, DFS here in Australia, and if you're only now just finding us and haven't played Draftstars before, well, then please use this link, bit.ly/join Draftstars to, get on board. Play
Absolutely.
some DFS against us, and it's a good fun time. It's fantasy sports in a fantastic way. And if you are on Draftstars already, then make sure you hit us up for our exclusive Draftstars single entry contest, $5 single entry, bit.ly/TFL week 9. It's always a fun time, and yet to take that one out, Arch. We got to make it once in the season. We're going to take this thing out.
Bloody hell, we do. It's a bad look. Don't even look at how.
Don't
how
worry,
often
I've won a micro and I've come second in a micro. Look, I've done all right for us, Arch. My name is out there. The logo is appearing on the leaderboard.
Look, I've won one mini showdown with 50 mates. It was about 20, but it was a classic chalk dupe lineup. Got that one, but a bit thin for me, Rowan, this year. But we're getting there. We're working.
That's right. It swings and roundabouts in DFS. A lot of chalk has been good.
That's what it is.
So when you're playing a little bit contrarian, as you want to, really, because you want to hit the difference, you want to be a difference maker, and you want to take those top spots. Sometimes it just doesn't come around for you yet. Chalk's been really good so far at the beginning of this season.
And it can't keep going like that, Rowan.
No, that's it.
The chalk will fail, and
it's regression.
I'll be there. I'll be there to lap it up.
That's right.
I hope.
Last week was week 8. It was an okay week. Look, Dalton was decent. But the thing is, and this is what I've thought about upon reflection, is I brought back with Dalton, I brought back with Devontae Adams, and I brought back with Josh Jacobs, and guess what? They sucked. Last week, Las Vegas just didn't know how to play football. It was a joke of a game, really, on their behalf. So, but I was thinking about this, like when you have a super cheap quarterback like we did, even with Sam Ellinger, he was really cheap as well, the 9Ks. You probably just don't actually have to bring back. You probably don't even need a stack, really, in terms of with your quarterback, because you're playing them for that really cheap price. So I was been thinking about that. If that happens again this season, I think I'm going to be a little bit more lenient with my rules in terms of how I build lineups. So there's that. Now, Peachy, thanks for jumping on, mate. And you're right. I was shocked before the show when I was like, "Who's this baby-faced man that I have to look at this week?" It's a strange sight to behold. The old clean-shaven Arch, mate. If any motivation here?
Look, I get bored of my face, and I generally go through stages throughout the year. I cycle between mow, beard, and clean. And when the day comes where you realise I'm over the beard, you shave straight away. Like, you're just done. Like, you can't hold on to it for more than a day. Well, I can't anyway. Knocked it all off last night. And, look, to be honest, a bit disappointed with what I was working with underneath that beard. I thought it was a little bit better than that, but here we are. always the post beard shave regret kicks in for a little bit there, but
I think the reality is for a lot of us, isn't it? It's just that the chin is always a little bit of a double chin, unfortunately.
Thanks,
and
mate.
the beard hides that. Oh, look, wasn't potentially. I was talking about myself, Arch.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Ron. You bastard.
Oh, dear. Anything else aside from New Orleans and Las Vegas letting us down last week, Arch? Anything else there from last week?
No, that was the main thing. I think it was the Jacobs Devonta Adams bringbacks that killed me. I had out of my 15 lineups, I would say half of them featured one or both of them. It just hurt there. So and look, we all had big lineups. Just so did the bloody field. Like outrageous scores last week, and so
how many 3-touchdown players were there? It was like AJ Brown, Deontay Foreman.
Yeah.
There was Chris McCaffrey. Like seriously, it was crazy. Yeah, and the Philly game was good, except for Devonta Smith, which again the contrarian play was to play Devonta Smith in that fantastic matchup, and it just didn't go. Did it, Peachy? So
it'll start coming that way soon.
Come on, it's going to turn. It's going to turn.
Here we go.
Well, speaking of turning, let's turn into week 9. I'm ready to do this. Are you ready, Arch?
I don't know. We'll see.
Let's go. Oh yeah!
It's week 9 for the few time. Yeah.
Let's get it. It's the highlight of every show. Let's see it. All right, we're going to jump into the Seattle Seahawks taking on Arizona Cardinals. This game sounds good. I'm going to say that now. I think it sounds good. It's got an over-under of about 50. Arizona are 2-point favorites here, so both teams projected to be close. Bit of a shootout here. Vegas likes what they're seeing. I have hesitancies in terms of fantasy play this week. It's an interesting one. So we're going to talk about it because the bookies like it, and there's just something in this. So I'm just going to look. Let's talk about Geno. Let's start with the Seattle Seahawks. Geno. He's sitting here at $12,330. And if we look at his stats, it's okay. And he's had one boom game back in early October where he played.
No one played him.
Yeah, that's right. Against Detroit. But you could say that's because he rushed for a touchdown. He's not going to do that too much, I would say.
No, 300-point bonus helped him out too.
It certainly did. So he had a big game against Detroit. But aside from that, we've seen him double his current salary, just twice. It was against Detroit and it was against New Orleans. After that, the last 3 weeks have been a bit average. And look, last week we said, we didn't know what was going on with DK Metcalf. He came in and played as a 6K player. It was a brilliant value if you pivoted to him in the early hours of the morning there. But I don't know. There's something in me that looks at this and I'm going, yes, they are 4th in points per drive. The Seahawks, they're doing well. They're getting down the field and they're scoring points. But actually, a lot of it's field goals. If you look into it, a lot of it's field goals and not a lot of it is touchdowns. Now, the other thing with that, obviously, you're not getting points for Geno for field goals. They're actually 21st in pass percentage. They're not passing a whole lot. Now, Lockett and DK Metcalf know how to get down the field, and they can provide you with some really big plays at times, which is fantastic. But Geno himself, I don't know. There's just something that is hesitant in me. He was held to 12 points against Arizona. Like that 12-point game 3 weeks ago was against Arizona, who they're playing this week. Didn't throw for a touchdown at all. And so I'm looking at this and going, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Hopefully, though, they've schemed him up and they've learned from that Arizona game to provide us with a good contest. But Geno is a pass for me. He's a pass for me this week. So let's move on to the rest of the team. Lockett, you've got, and DK, you've got in the 10K mark, and I really like that. Like that's a really nice pricing for Lockett and Metcalf. Obviously, though, they got the questionable tags. I feel like these guys are never fully healthy. Like seriously, when am I going to get a fully healthy DK or Lockett? But if DK played last week, as long as he's not re-aggravating anything, well, there's something in that.
I don't think he can get injured, Rowan. I think it's impossible for DK to be properly injured.
That would be.
Wasn't he meant to be out for weeks last week?
Yeah, he was. Seriously, I had no expectation that DK would get off. But so look, I'm watching the injury report, but I'm hesitant again with this passing offense. Like I said, 21st in pass percentage. Arizona's been 6th overall in defensive EPA per play, expected points added, that is. So it's a borderline good play for me. Like it's a good price, and it's a clear target tree of just DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and especially with Marquise Goodwin. By the way, you weren't ever going to play him, but he's out, so it's really thinning that. You've got just Lockett and DK, so they're okay plays, but I just don't know if I'm going to find much space for them in my lineups. Really, that then goes into Kenneth Walker. If they're not passing much, then Walker's going to run the ball a lot. Like, I'm not worried about Homer or DJ Dallas or any of these guys really taking away from what Walker brings to the table. He's sitting there at 12,970, which is great. Last week against the Giants, he just didn't get there, which was surprising because the Giants have really let a lot of rushing happen against them. And really, he saved his day with a touchdown. That's what we saw. But against the Chargers, 31.8. Like we've seen that he can pull out these big plays. You know, he had that 70-yard touchdown. So there's a big play waiting for Kenneth Walker. He's quite explosive, which is exciting to watch. But the Chargers, as we know, or if you don't know, they aren't a great rushing defense either. So is it a case of Kenneth Walker is just going to feast when the defense sucks? Because Arizona, they've been solid against the run here as well. Arizona are 3rd in defensive rush EPA per play. The reality is, and I think this is what potentially the field might miss, is that Arizona and Seattle's defense in the last month has really stepped up. Like they've gotten better. And I just wonder if we're just looking at these numbers and going, like, I'm looking at this and going, I think the under's going to happen here.
Yeah.
So in that case, then the Seattle DST, the defense, is who has been performing well. Not that we can project defenses very well, but they're 4K. It's basement price.
Yep.
The only question is then what is Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins gonna do? So Murray, 15,770, love that, and he's shown his rushing upside in the last month. You know, he's got that 100-yard bonus there. Let me pull up Arizona here. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see us go through the Draftstars site.
If you're watching on YouTube, you can see some lovely comments here. Check out this. We've got hot girls awaiting.
Yeah,
here,
let's block this user. Love that. Fun times. Don't you love it when spam happens? Fantastic. Anyway, so we are looking here at Kyler Murray, and he's thrown for 300 yards last week, and a few weeks before that against Seattle. He put up 100 yards on the ground. Now, I think a lot of my Kyler Murray interest does hinge on DeAndre Hopkins. And DeAndre Hopkins has come back with bang.
Hasn't he?
Like, so good. Oh, my gosh. Against New Orleans, 10 for 103, 12 for 159 and touchdown last week. Like, absolutely was huge. One of those chalky plays last week that just, went off. So you're looking at this, he's priced up at $17K. I can't fault Draftstars for pricing him up like that. He's still not the most expensive wide receiver on the slate. So I'm kind of looking at Hopkins, and I think a lot of people look at Hopkins and find him to be someone who is quite appealing to pay up for this week. So, yes, Seymour's, apparently there are hot girls here. I don't know what's going on. The YouTube chat is going insane. Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
I mean, this might get the viewers around. I haven't thought of offering hot girls.
Man, you don't want them cold. Anyway. Deary me. We are
better from you there, Rowan.
I'm here to talk statistics, and I'm being undermined by hot girls. What's going on? It's an
age-old story with you, Rowan, isn't it?
Speak for yourself. Anyway. All right. Hopkins, I think, saw his ceiling last week. He obviously at 36.9 Draftstars points. That's huge. I am going to be wary of my ownership of DeAndre Hopkins this week. I think a lot of people are going to go to him. A lot of people are. And Seattle, look, their defense has been solid, like we've said, right? They're actually first in defending play success rate. They're first in defending play success rate. Like that's super impressive for a side that we thought was just going to be ripped to shreds this year. So, and they kind of were early on. They've really stepped up in the last month. So, Hopkins, iffy on. But look, a lot of people will go to him still. So I don't know. Maybe the contrarian plays to avoid Hopkins this week. Rondale Moore at 10,120 is too pricey for me. Again, he's just still the short A-dot guy, and really, all of Arizona had a ceiling game last week against Minnesota. So I'm going to...
Is he, though? Like, I feel that he's clearly their number 2 now. Like, I think I was listening or reading somewhere that on 2 wide receiver sets, he's out there now. Like, he's on the outside often. But when it goes to 3 wide receivers, he then moves to the slot. I don't know. I feel that they're starting to move him around and actually using him. I feel that there is... I don't know. I think you can... There's a world where you can get some... If you think this game's going to, be a back-and-forth pass affair, I think Rondale Moore's in the mix of it. But I do have the same reservations about, the game script, how it plays out.
For sure. I think the 10K price tag is a lot. I don't... Like, really, you want your guys doubling. You want your guys doubling. And so I just think... I don't know if I can get 20 points again out of Rondale Moore. That's the question here. So you have to ask yourself that. That's for sure. Tight ends, though, I mean, Ertz is in a great spot for tight ends. Seattle will give the most fantasy points to tight ends. Like, that's just the bottom line. So Ertz, like, this is the thing. I don't think Kyler Murray, the way he plays, can effectively help 3 pass catchers produce well for fantasy. So I think that's where, that's my question here. So, look, I'm going to stick with, I think Ertz has the more favorable matchup. So I'm going to stick with Ertz and Hopkins as my preferred 2 pass catchers. Goodness me, Arch. You can't help yourself, can you? You are stuck in this YouTube chat and you are so sidetracked. Oh my gosh. Let's talk football. I'm here to talk football. Anyway,
what are we doing?
Zach Ertz could have a decent game.
He could
have a decent game. Anyway, bloody hell. I'm going to block CMOS from Aussie Fantasy Football and Andrew Peachy. You guys can just get stuffed.
Keep it coming.
Hey, if you're listening to us on a podcast and you don't know what's going on, go back and check out the YouTube.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Hit subscribe as well while you're there.
That's right. If I'm stacking this game, I actually don't want to stack it with Gino, so I'm happy to do a Lockett or Metcalf with a Hopkins. I think that's fine if you think this is the way it's going to go. I don't want to get too cute here with this game. If you are going to stack Murray, though, then I think my preferred way is to go Murray, Hopkins, Ertz with a bring back of Lockett or Metcalf. That's how I'm going to play this game. Gosh, I feel like I talk forever, Arch, because we're just so sidetracked going through that matchup. Oh, dear. Any thoughts from you on this matchup between Seattle and Arizona?
No, look, I was interested in Kenneth Walker. Like, he still managed 97 yards on the ground against Arizona a few weeks ago, and so 3 more yards, his points. I think he would have hit the 20-point mark, and so I think he could easily be in play here today for this one.
Fair enough. We didn't mention the Arizona running backs, and I think there's a good reason for that.
Yes,
because seriously, just don't touch. Like, we don't know if James Conner's coming back. Darrell Williams, I mean, he's just gone back on IR. But Keontae Ingram's mixing in, Eno Benjamin. It's just, I just don't care about the Arizona running backs. There are so many better plays this week.
Yep.
So we're going to move on.
Saying it's a must-win for Arizona as well. That might come into play as well.
Yeah, they might go all out here. That'd be fun. Alrighty, let's move on. We're going to talk about the Chargers in Atlanta, which, again, we didn't think we'd be talking about Atlanta this much this year, did we, Arch?
I mean, it's crazy. They're, I think, 6th in points per game in the NFL this year.
Ridiculous.
Even after watching them, you wouldn't think that's the case, right? Like, it's crazy. Anyway, and that's with passing 10 times a game, it seems. Anyway, so let's look at the game. It's we got a 50-point over-under. There's 3 games that are 50. Chargers are -3 favourites. So even Vegas don't think that Atlanta is a terrible team. They think Atlanta can put up points. Both pretty nice.
I love that.
Implied point totals here. So if it's a back and forth affair, this is potentially DFS gold. And so do you think that's going to, is this what's going to happen? And potentially the Atlanta tag still smells a bit iffy for people, and maybe this doesn't command some ownership. You look at, the Chargers side of the ball as well. Herbert hasn't exactly lit the world on fire in the DFS landscape. A lot of, those stacks just haven't worked out. But let's have a look a little bit closer at this game. So Chargers 4th in pass percentage. So clearly they're going to throw the ball. That's their MO. They're 6th in pass rate over expectation last 4 weeks. So, fast-paced. I think they are number 1 in neutral game script pace for play. So there should be plenty of fantasy point scoring opportunities here. So definitely on the Chargers side. Atlanta, on the other hand, defensively, they're 29th in pass EPA per play defensively, 31st in pressure percentage. They can't get to the quarterback, 31st in overall defensive DVOA. They, I don't know if you could call them a defense, Rowan. So I kind of like that sort of matchup for the Chargers. This is a Herbert get right game potentially. Atlanta, however, though, they're 4th in explosive rush percentage, so they're not giving up big plays on the ground, and they're not giving much on the ground. They're 5th in rush EPA per play in the last 4 weeks. And so, but then you look at the Chargers side of the ball, that actually fits quite nicely in how they play. Like Eckler, their running back, that's not how he scores his points, is it, Rowan? He is very much the pass catcher. If we look at Atlanta's offense, that this is the weird one, isn't it? So they're 12th in points per play in the last 4 weeks. So I think they were 6th overall in the year. They're 8th in pass EPA per play, despite being 31st in pass percentage and pass rate over expectation, Ron. I mean, if there's a picture of efficiency,
yeah,
it's outrageous. So part of me thinks, all right, how long can this continue? Like them scoring and putting this up, or is this just is this offense just working the way that Arthur Smith's sort of planning it? So Mariota isn't passing much, but when he does it, I think he's in top 5 or at least top 10 in deep pass attempts as well. And so the deep passes are where you score a whole bunch of fantasy points. So I don't mind a bit of Mariota here. Let's look at defensively the Chargers. They're 30th in explosive rush percentage. Cordero Patterson's coming back, so that's potentially coming back anyway. And so that who likes to run the ball, Rowan?
Atlanta do very much.
Whether they're in front or behind, they're number 1 in rush rate while trailing as well, which probably is going to happen in this game. Like that's how they think they're going to win. The Chargers are giving up big plays on the ground. They're 2nd in most points per game on the ground as well in the last 4 weeks. I think we can see that there's on the Chargers offense versus Atlanta defense, it's the passing mismatch. And on the other side, Atlanta's offense is run heavy, and that's Chargers' weakness. It's very interesting, isn't it? So could we get a back and forth with that sort of situation, or does it slow down because Atlanta's not going to have that many plays and they're running? So it really comes down, how do you think this game's going to go? There's clearly some outs. Like, this could just grind it out. Atlanta could slow the game down. That's the only thing I'm really worried about. Atlanta are 29th in neutral game script pace of play, which will limit the amount of possessions the Chargers get. Just be aware there are outs, but I don't know. I think this is a sneaky game that could produce low ownership and a lot of points. So let's look at the individual pieces, how we're going to play them. So Chargers, I mean, Herbert hasn't hit his ceiling yet, Rowan, has he? Like, I mean, if you want to bring up his stats, I think maybe 1 week it seems he's gotten close with, week 2, if we go all the way back there. The only, 1 of 2 times he's, gone over 300 yards. This potentially is a week that he does that again. And he, is only, barely getting 2 touchdowns a game. So I think this is potentially the get right spot for Herbert. People are off him because he's let a lot of people down. Could he be, what Burrow was able to do against Atlanta just a couple weeks ago? This is where I'm sort of drawing the parallels. on to the next piece, which, I'll bring up a little bit of a graphic here, Rowan, is our premium play of the game. Show me the money! Austin Eckler is our premium play of the week. I mean, who else could you go to? He's an absolute lock in this game script. He's game script proof. No Mike Williams, maybe no Keenan Allen. Look, who else is Herbert passing to? Yeah, Gerald Everett will catch a few, but it's all going through Eckler. Josh Palmer? Nah, it's Eckler. Eckler is the offense here. Look, he leads the league with high-value touches per game at 9.3. That's, catches and rushes within, near the end zone. Like, that is scoring opportunities over the last 4 weeks. Third in weighted opportunity rating for RBs. Leads the league in routes run among running backs. Like, he is the offense. He does everything. Sure, Atlanta may be good against the rush, but that's not going to stop Eckler. He's going to catch the ball. Lock in Eckler as your premium play this week. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. Like
he's good.
Look at
he is good at football.
He's very good at football.
Anyway,
Austin Eckler's great. Just worth the price tag. Honestly, I think he's worth the price tag.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I had to ramble on, but really, I mean, you don't need to talk too much about him. It's just, it works. I mean, there were early season worries about the usage, but I think the coaching staff realised that was stupid.
Yeah, that's it. Well, let's talk. Can we talk about these wide receivers though? Because I'm really interested in Josh Palmer. You say they're not going to use him, but he's going to be good.
No, they're going to use him. But my worry this week, he is the chalk of everyone's talking about Josh Palmer this week. He was like a top 5 waiver add in your season long leagues. He is, if anyone in Australia listens to any other DFS podcasts that are DraftKings related, they are all talking about Josh Palmer. And priced on Draftstars at $9K, that's silly value for a potential wide receiver 1. Yeah. For a 50-point game. So everyone and his dog will be plugging him into their cash lineup, and he'll be very heavily owned. I'll be surprised if he's below 30% owned in the mini and the micro and the main, all the GPPs on Draftstars. So potentially, do you want to pivot off of him? And I'll talk about maybe the obvious leverage play. Yeah, we'll just jump to him now, is Gerald Everett. And I think on an ugly tight end slate, at 7.5K, potentially is the best tight end play there. I don't know.
Yeah, I love Gerald Everett this week. He's a trusted piece of the offense now. You look for him in the end zone. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Gerald Everett and what he could bring to the table this week.
So but as a play, I think Josh Palmer clearly is going to have the opportunity and do well. I'm not going to bag that opportunity, but the worry is, as a GPP player, even though that's burnt me a lot this year, is that, all right, if Palmer's going to command so much ownership, well, what's the benefit of me clicking on him when potentially if he fails and I've gone somewhere else, I jump the leaderboard big time? And so if you another punt play on the wide receiver side is DeAndre Carter. I think that's not a bad little option. I think considering Mike Williams is out, 6.6K, you're not needing too much for that to work. Helps you, fill the other parts of your lineup. But really, I'm really wanting to monitor Keenan Allen's practice reports this week.
Yeah.
Because
he came out and said that, Staley said the hamstring got worse over the bye. Did you hear that? He got worse. He didn't play. He got worse. What is going on with that hamstring?
I don't know. It sounds like some of the blokes I played social basketball with, where we have one bloke, Stocky. He's got a hamstring complaint, and he was about to come back, and he played basketball with his 9-year-old daughter, and did it again. So maybe something like that happened to Keenan Allen. So anyway,
for sure.
Atlanta side,
what's going on there?
Look, Mariota is intriguing. I think. I feel that Draftstars just priced him out of maybe my thinking. Might as well made him 12K, 11, 9,990, 9,990, or whatever. It's not cheap enough for me to really probably play.
Yeah, that's fair.
You look at his body of work, 24, 25 points is his ceiling. you kind of need that to pay off that salary, I think. And I don't know if it's guaranteed to get that. I mean, obviously you're not guaranteed that. It's a ceiling type performance. So look, I'm a bit worried there, mate. I mean, potentially in this game environment, they decide they have to pass to keep up with the Chargers, and it does pay off. But I mean, Mariota on the ground as well is where he's going to probably score some points. It's an intrigue. Like I'm not out, I'm not in, and so I don't know, need to sit on Mariota a little bit on that. 12K is just an annoying price. 10K, I'd be all over it. What do you think about Mariota?
Yeah, I think like if he was 10K, I'd be playing him, but I would potentially be playing him potentially without any of his pass catches, because if you look at what he does, even with a ceiling game back against San Francisco, he's only thrown for 129 yards.
Exactly.
So who's he bringing along? No one with that game. So when you stack, you want a lot of the pass catching to excel as well. That's why you stack. So I just don't know if stacking Mariota is worth it. Potentially he could be value by himself, but I don't know if I want to build around him. Yep.
No, I agree. Yeah, it just smells like if it was 10K, it'd be a cash game quarterback lock. But here it's just awkward. If you want to play any pass catches, it's Pitts or London really. But you don't need to force a bring back, and I think we're learning that this year. That if you think it's potentially a one-sided affair, or I don't think this is going to be a one-sided affair, but the way the teams operate, the passing is one-sided, where there's going to be a lot of stuff on the ground with Atlanta. I don't know. Just the volume's not there for Pitts and London, even though it's such a condensed target share. Target tree, like the volume just doesn't help him out. I am enjoying seeing Pitts actually schemed a little bit better in the end zone, and so we're seeing a few more, touchdowns for him, which is nice.
Yeah, 2 in the last 3 weeks is great.
So, if you want to put a bring back, it's probably Pitts is my call here, but really not that interested. If I want to talk about a punt play, look, see you later, Zacchaeus. Tamir Bird, is he taking over that sort of third wide receiver role as we see it?
He's a big play guy. He's an efficient guy, and he wants to get in the end zone kind of guy. Like that catch and run to the end zone last week was great to watch. It was fantastic. But again, I don't know if I can buy it, Arch, in this offense.
I mean, he's still not running as many routes as Zacchaeus, but when he is running routes, he's got a 35% targets per route run. Like,
they like him.
So when he's on the field, he's getting open and presenting for Mariota, and Mariota likes a deep ball. He's 6K. Like, I don't know. I mean, it was 5K earlier in the day for anyone who jumped on Draftstars prematurely. But yeah, I don't know. I think if you're looking for 6K plays to make your lineups work, I think sprinkle in a little bit of Tamir Bird, in a few of your 100 micro lineups. I think you could do worse.
Fair enough.
So if I'm stacking this, Rowan, it's Herbert and Eckler. Like, quarterback to running back isn't normally the play, but with Eckler, he's a pass catcher. So pair him with Herbert. Sure, it's going to take up a lot of your salary, but then throw in an Everett or Palmer for some value. And it's Pitts or Bird probably are my bringbacks if I'm gonna have one, but quite often I'm not going to force a bringback. If I don't. And then I think in a lot of other stacks, I'm probably still going to have a lot of Eckler everywhere. Like, he's our premium play of the week for a reason.
Yeah, for sure.
And you might, you could even do a mini stack with Eckler Pitts around the place if you think that's going to work.
No, fair enough. All right, let's move on to Green Bay and Detroit, which I didn't think I'd be talking about Green Bay this week, but they're playing Detroit. So, you got to talk about them because the defense at Detroit is atrocious. They're 32nd in pass defensive EPA and 32nd overall in defensive pass EPA. So, it's like, all right, let's just play the guys against Detroit because that just seems to be the way to go. They're letting explosive runs happen. They're not stopping drives at all, really. The drive success rate against Detroit is the highest in the league. So It's a big one. Peachy, you think Lions are going to win? Look, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised by that. Detroit are 4-point underdogs, but they're at home, which, says something. The over-under here is about 50, I believe. And so I'm looking at that going, all right, well, Vegas, again, thinks that there's something here. But the interesting thing is that I just can't get past how bad Green Bay have been this year. And Rodgers sitting there at $13,310 is a bit ugly. I just can't. Like, really what you're hoping for? You're hoping for the defense to suck, which is, you could rely on that a little bit. But you're hoping that the Green Bay receivers step up as well for Rodgers to really hit his ceiling. The biggest positive really that I could find is that Green Bay are passing at the 12th highest rate. That's the best positive I could find, that they're passing at the 12th highest rate, not even top 10. So I'm looking at this going, I can't really buy in to Green Bay at the moment. But look, let's talk about some of the pass catchers. You got Lazard there at 8,500. He's currently limited in practice, didn't play last week. We know that he and Rodgers have a good rapport, and when he's on the field, he is earning a target on 25% of his routes. That he leads the wide receivers on his team in that stat. So Rodgers is going to look to him a little bit more than anyone else. So at 8,500, it's decent. I don't mind it. Dobbs is sitting there at 99.70, and I feel like that's just a tad overpriced for me.
Yeah.
It's just he's this rookie that's come on. He's made a couple of big plays, and that's what you're hoping for again. He's up and down. Big time he's up and down. If we look at his stats here, he had a 16 last week, but then was rubbish for about 4 weeks. It's like throwing it, you're throwing a dart blindfolded, really, I think, when you're looking at Romeo Dobbs. So he's not to be trusted yet. That's where
he's
I'm
on the
sitting
field
with
at
that.
least. He's running lots of routes and he's earning some targets, but
that's true.
Just not making the most of them yet.
No, that's right.
But that's the Green Bay offense.
That is the Green Bay offense. So that's, again, is this get right? Do we get ahead of the trend and find the spot and Aaron Rodgers goes off for a 30-point fantasy game? You got to be brave to do it. You got to be brave to do it this week. Christian Watson is 6K, still in the concussion protocol and didn't practice. So watch that space. 6K for Watson, I think, would be decent because when he was on the field a lot before he came off concussed, and that's when Romeo Dobbs really stepped in when Christian Watson came off. So there's something in that, I reckon. But the place to go for this, and it's really just one. It's really just one for me, and it's Aaron Jones. Right, he's sitting there. He's priced up. Yes, he's priced up at 14,880, but that's still decent. That's still cheaper than a bunch of the other top running backs. Whereas Aaron Jones is coming up against a trash defense, and he's catching the ball a bit, which is nice. 4 receptions, 9 receptions, 3 receptions in the last 3. That's pretty handy. And look, last week against Buffalo, one of the stoutest defenses going around, he put up 143 rushing yards. He was explosive as. And he's coming up against a team that is the second worst defense for allowing 10-plus yard runs. That says that there is a lot of opportunity for Aaron Jones to just carve out a role on the ground, and it's him. AJ Dillon, right? We all were worried about his impact or thought that he might ascend this preseason, but he has done jack all since that first week, and he has seen less than 50% snap share since week 5. He hasn't been he hasn't been on the field more than 50% of the snaps since week 4. It's a flat pass for AJ Dillon for me. The only way he gets up is if it becomes the red zone guy, but he hasn't even been that. His red zone opportunities have been super low this year. So I'm looking at this and going, it's Aaron Jones. I mean, Robert Tonyan is solid. He's 68-70. Always a chance for a touchdown with Aaron Rodgers. Leads the whole team in targets per route run at 27.5%. So when he's on the field, he's actually getting the ball a fair bit. And actually last week played his highest snap count of the season at 74%. So there's a positive trend here to follow with Tonyan, and might get, who knows, he might get lost in tight end land. He's sitting there really in the middle, sitting there.
Gross tight end slate.
It is a gross tight end slate. And so Robert Tonyan, though, is one of those guys that I think can produce for us with a bit of positive touchdown regression, hopefully. So yeah, Robert Tonyan, I actually don't mind. Him and Aaron Jones are the two pieces that I like, that I actually like from Green Bay. Detroit, though, let's flip it over. Is Jared Goff good? Is my question. No is probably the answer. I mean, he put up a decent week last week against Miami, but Miami's secondary is shot. He hasn't had a good game since Seattle, where there was that massive shootout between Seattle and Detroit, which was really, I'm learning, was an anomaly. Like, it just feels like it was it's not actually something that we can be basing our understanding of these offenses on.
No.
Although Amon-Ra St. Brown has been out and injured for a while, came back last week, which really is what you need for Jared Goff. But either way, I'm probably not going to stack Jared Goff. Amon-Ra St. Brown, though, is $14K. And
play him.
You just play him. This is from Wyatt_FB on Twitter, and one of those analysts, many analysts out there, but I like his stuff. This is what he has to say. He said he's had 4 games, Amon-Ra St. Brown that is, has had 4 games with at least 70% snaps played. In those games, he averages 22.5 Draftstars points, DK points for him, and 10.8 targets per game, with at least 9 targets in all of those games. Don't forget, TJ Hockenson just got traded to the Vikings.
See you later.
He's a cash game lock. I think it's hard to not play him in tournaments, but I think the field's going to go to him because of the loss of TJ Hockenson. So look, I'm going to be playing Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, the opportunity here is fantastic, and at a great price as well. The ceiling, you point back to what he did back in week 2, where he just went off. Like, it's juicy. It is really juicy. And if you're left standing in the dust with no Amon-Ra St. Brown when he does that, look, it's dangerous. And look, last week, really great news. 7 receptions. Sure, it was for 69 yards, but we know but we know that he can take that for more coming off of injury. So I'm a big Amon-Ra St. Brown fan this week. Josh Reynolds. Can I interest you in some Josh Reynolds?
Yeah.
He's 6K. Where is he? I can't find him on my list here. Here he is. 4 weeks.
6K guys.
4 weeks of the season, he's gone 12 points or more. Some of them with Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I look at Josh Reynolds and go, I actually think the relationship between him and Jared Goff is something that has been around since the Rams. He's played that fringe role. We're still not seeing DJ Chark. Josh Reynolds is a guy that if he gets off of the injury report, I really like Josh Reynolds here. I think he's really a good punt play. Good punt play at 6K. So I like that.
What do you think of Khalif Raymond as well as at 6K? 92% route participation last week.
Yeah, solid. He just doesn't have hasn't shown yet the big playability, and he hasn't cracked into the end zone yet. So, but yeah, it could be his week as well. So there's a couple of guys here, like especially if Josh Reynolds is out, then yeah, Khalif Raymond, fantastic. Great play.
What it shows is that there's some easy, like, punt bringbacks there's so many bringback options. If you're going to go any of these Detroit guys, you want to go them because you think Green Bay's going to take it to them, and so you play Green Bay, and like you do the correlation game. This game is all about correlation. There are other ones that you don't force to bring back. This one I feel is all about correlation.
Yeah, I think these guys, the teams will push each other in this case.
Yep.
A divisional matchup. Love that as well. Swift is priced for what he can do when he's healthy. He's 13K.
Swift. Not
for how he is now. Let's be honest. All reports are that Swift's still playing hurt, and even his coach came out and said he played too much last week and only touched the ball 10 times. So
4 rushing attempts.
It was gross. Hey, fade of the week call last week, though.
Yes.
Go us. Swift didn't practice Wednesday.
Should have faded him again this week, mate.
Yeah, well, I think it's a bit obvious this week. If Swift is out, then I'm going to load up Jamal Williams. He's priced there at 8,350. Green Bay are 29th in defending rushing expected points per play. Detroit are going to use him at the goal line. They're going to want to rush it if they can. In neutral script, right, which Detroit aren't always in, but Green Bay could make this a neutral game because they're not very good. Detroit are 26th in pass percentage in neutral script. They want to run the ball. That's what they want their mantra to be. And who's going to run it this week? It's Jamal Williams. So I'm really, really a big fan of Jamal Williams at 8,300. I think that's just a really nice way to free up some cash. Hockenson just got traded. as well. I'm going to pass on these tight ends until we see like who's going to emerge, if anyone emerges as well. So, look, I'm going to ignore the tight ends here. If you get lucky, well done. But I'm going to pass. So if I'm going to stack this game, it's probably Rodgers with a Lazard or a Dobbs plus a Tonyan. That's probably the way I want to go. Bring it back with a Amon-Ra, St. Brown, or a Jamal. Or just play really simple. Amon-Ra, St. Brown, bring it back with Aaron Jones. I think that's just the way to do it.
Beautiful.
All right, next matchup is going to be real quick because we only really care about one side of this matchup. Because look at that. Buffalo, 12-point favorites against the Jets for 47-point over-under. They're projected for over 30 points here, Arch, which is, you don't see that too often.
Highest implied point team total on the slate. Look, at the end of the day, Buffalo's a juggernaut. Second in total and pass EPA per play. Third in pass rate over expectation. Third in points per game. First in pressure percentage. No one's getting to Allen. Will they actually get tested against the Jets? That's my question. Jets aren't as bad as, they're not the old Jets. They had a shocker last week where potentially they come back in as a basket case after a horrible game, or they come back with a point to prove. And so this game could go either way. I wouldn't put it past Robert Saleh and the Jets actually somehow slowing down and putting into a plan in place to just, stuff Buffalo here. But then most of my brain says, no, Buffalo cannot be stopped, especially not by the bloody Jets. Yeah. It's an interesting game. Look, over the last 4 weeks, to just make you actually think a little bit more about the Jets. Jets are third in pass EPA per play defensively, second in explosive pass percentage, and ninth in explosive rush percentage. They're not giving away big plays. They are third in pressure percentage. They're getting to the quarterback. They're third in points per game defensively. They're not giving up much points. That's over the last 4 weeks, even with last week's disappointment. There is a world where they could bottle up Allen, force a nice, tight game and slow it down. All just depends, really. And we saw it last week against New England. If Zach Wilson turns the ball over and, loses the field position battle, they're stuffed, right? And so part of me worries is that, Buffalo are going to have a lot of short field, not a lot of yards they need to score. And so that might even limit the points as well. So it's an interesting game. And so obviously Buffalo's, going to be popular. Allen is a clear stacking favorite. We see whenever he's the only real premium guy out there. Next in line's Kyler Murray at, $15K. It's $2.5K you're paying above anyone else to get to get to Allen. So, it'll be popular, but is this a place where, if you feel that there's an out, do you fade this game, Rowan?
I think you'd be a brave person to fade it entirely.
Yeah.
I think you kind of want a bit of Diggs or a bit of Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis at under 10K. Like, what is going on with that?
I'll get to them, though. Don't worry about that.
Okay, anyway. But I think I can understand not stacking Allen, but I think you got to be brave to just avoid it entirely.
Avoid the game, yeah. Absolutely. The way I see it is, at 18K, considering all the other quarterback options and their price, you need him to hit 35 points at least. Really,
yes, you do.
And so, do you think that's happening in this matchup, in this game environment? Obviously, if you play him, you're pairing him with Diggs, but then you're eating up 35% of your salary. And so, where do you go from there? And so, to me, it's doable because the tight end slate stinks. So you're gonna, if you're playing them, you're looking for a 5K tight end, which we'll get to in a little bit in this game, in fact. But just be aware, it's an expensive stack, but it's expensive because you know what the bloody ceiling is. Like when Diggs and Allen go off, like that's a slate breaker right there. Gabe Davis, as you said, under 10K, getting 33% targets per route run last week, great value. Like, I don't know, don't worry about the 5.5 points. Like the usage is there for Gabe Davis.
Yeah, Jair Alexander pretty much shut Gabe Davis out last week. I don't think we're going to see that from the Jets.
Yeah, no. And so, I like Gabe Davis, and it's going to be interesting what the ownership does here. I think that Diggs will be popular because of what his ceiling is. Gabe Davis is going to be popular because of the sheer value, and so potentially they split the ownership, and really, it's just playing without thinking about ownership and look elsewhere to get different in the tournaments.
Yeah.
If you want to look, for leverage here, it's Dawson Knox. He hasn't done it this year. Like, really, for what you're paying. 8K is not a basement tight end. And especially on this slate, he's one of the top guys, which is stupid to think about. But we've seen in years past, there's 2 touchdown potential. Like, there is always that chance that he could score 2 touchdowns. So do sprinkle him in. I don't mind a bit of Gabe Davis. But I am completely, utterly out on running backs this week. Singletary only is useful in neutral game scripts when they're out, by a touchdown or more. He's not used as much, and this is what this game script sort of dictates. But then Nyheim Hines comes to town. We don't know how he's going to slot him, but they targeted him. They've been after a pass catching running back for who knows how long. They couldn't get JD McKissick. They hoped James Cook was something, and so they've said, we need Nyheim Hines. How much of the snaps of Singletary is he going to take? Who knows? There's no point. Don't play him this way. Just don't play any running backs. Just watch, and generally, what you'll watch, and you'll realize, okay, that simplifies the rest of my season. I don't play any Bills running backs for the rest of the year because who knows how it's going to go. So so we talk about bringbacks, and we looked last week forcing bringbacks. This year hasn't worked out. And I'm not looking to force too much, except in tight end land. Tyler Conklin is ridiculously involved in this offense, Rowan. We're looking at a guy with 75% route participation. He had 31% targets per route run last week. He's earning targets. Over the last 2 weeks, he's had 4 end zone targets. He's still only 5K on Draftstars. So if I'm stacking Alan Diggs, I will always pretty much put Conklin in there.
Basement price, it's an easy spot.
It offsets the huge salary outlay you're putting on those guys, and it gives you the correlation that potentially is going to be there.
Yeah, it's good.
Love Conklin this week. 5K. How is he 5K after a 2 touchdown week?
I don't know. And
I
6
guess
receptions.
It's the matchup. Draftstars do work hard at the matchups with their pricing. It's heavily stacked into their algorithm, evidently. So, I like Conklin. So I'm stacking this. It's Alan Diggs, bring back with Conklin, and potentially it would be an Alan Diggs, and you could eat the way Alan plays. You throw in 2 pass catchers just to get a little bit different with Knox or Davis as the secondary pass catchers. Is it enough to go on onslaught? I don't know. I feel that there's potential for the Jets to slow it down. That the points won't. It's not going to be like Buffalo against Tennessee we saw early in the season. So I love a bit of a Gabe Davis Conklin mini stack, just helping your lineups elsewhere. That's a low priced value that could. I really like. I love a Gabe Davis Conklin mini stack this week.
It's good. It's good. Alrighty, well, that's it for our matchups. We're going to quickly run through who our favourite plays are in position land. So we're going to just quickly talk quarterbacks. We're just going to make this quick. I've got Burrow here at 14,000. I really like Burrow for what he can do. Yes, he had an off week last week against the Browns, but that's just he always has off week against the Browns. I'm looking at this guy going, yes, sure, Jamar Chase isn't around, but they're only up against Carolina. The Panthers are 22nd in defending explosive passes, and we know that T. Higgins can push down the ground, so I'm really a big fan of him. I think you're going to mention Hurst a little bit later on as well. These guys are first in passing, pass rate. They just love to pass the ball. There is a lot of opportunity here for Joe Burrow to just rack up a lot of points. I really like Joe Burrow. Kirk Cousins as well. He's sitting here at 13,580. They're only playing Washington.
Got a new weapon.
He's got a new weapon in Hockenson, yes. But even with the old ones, with Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, like, it's a solid place to play him. It's a good spot. Revenge game, if you love the narrative against Washington. So, look, I'm not.
How many
I'm not
years
averse
into his, time in Minnesota can you keep calling revenge games?
Yeah, I don't know. But Kirk Cousins, I don't mind Kirk Cousins this week. So, Washington are 28th in defensive pass DVOA. So, it's looking up for him. Value though.
I didn't mind a bit of Justin Fields. Obviously he's getting it done on the ground. With last 2 weeks, Chicago seemed to be, their offense sort of working a little bit here, and so we're seeing some rushing touchdowns come into play. Miami is going to force Chicago to play from behind. Miami's 30th in pass EPA per play as well. Fields loves a deep pass. Got a new weapon in Chase Claypool. See how that goes. Obviously, there's a worry that Bradley Chubb coming into Miami, but week 1, is he going to be that effective? I don't know. I don't mind a little bit of Justin Fields, whether I play him or not. Yeah.
Cool. Running backs, who do you like that we haven't mentioned?
I think this is Josh Jacobs' week again. A lot of people are going to be off him after the last week, but the talent's there, the usage is there, just an off week. Bring him back against Jacksonville, who are 27th in adjusted fantasy points to running backs. Nice. Let's not overthink it.
No, that's good. We got to overthink, like, the flu or an illness went through the locker room. Like, you can't ignore that. I think that honestly can have a big impact on teams. Value-wise, though, at running back land, big fan of Deontay Foreman. Obviously coming up a 3-touchdown game.
So
how has he not cemented the number 1 running back role there? I don't know. PJ Walker, look, he looked actually really good last week. Enabled that offense to move against Atlanta. So, like, we're talking about Atlanta being tough against the ground. Well, hello, Deontay Foreman, 3 rushing touchdowns and 118 rushing yards. So, look, and he did 118 rushing yards against Tampa as well. So, at 9K, pretty nice. And you didn't mention this guy, but Tyler Algier, we talk about how much they love to run, Atlanta, that is. And Algier here is sitting as the guy who has seen 60% of the snaps the last 2 weeks in a row. I think he's kind of earning that first running back spot above Huntley. I know you're talking about Patterson, but he's just being designated. He's not going to play. Like, let's be honest. They got 21 days to get him back. I don't think they'll be pushing for Patterson to return. He's an old man. So,
look, it's done all right as an old man.
Yeah, I know. But health-wise, if something's wrong, you got to look after him. Anyway, if Patterson doesn't play, Algier at 8K is, I think, a really solid play. I think he's...
Sure.
People will be off him. I think, like, this is a sneaky play. I think it's a really sneaky play. So, Algier, I don't mind. But we do have a fade of the week in running back land. So, we're going to have to tee that one up, Arch?
Declare bankruptcy!
This hurts my soul. He is a favourite of mine since coming into the league. And our fade of the week is Ramondre Stevenson. I love the guy. He's sitting there, though, at 12,570. He's pushing up in the price. And look, let's be honest. You just can't trust a New England running back for too long.
You can't.
You just can't. Damian Harris came back 2 weeks ago. He started playing. He came back in a really solid role last week with a 41% snap share. And Stevenson dropped to 63%. Colts, who they're playing, are 6th in defensive rush DVOA. They're doing a pretty good job at stopping the run in terms of yards per carry. So I'm not a fan, unfortunately, of Ramondre Stevenson this week. I hope he proves me wrong, but sadly, that's our call.
Yeah, don't mind it, Ron.
Let's move on to wide receivers. Wide receivers, best of the best. Haven't we mentioned? We haven't mentioned Miami. And let's be honest, Tyreek Hill is an absolute beast, and he's priced at 18,200. He honestly could be. There could be an argument to put him at 20K. Like, seriously, what he's doing is just phenomenal. And Jalen Waddle. Oh, I love the price of Jalen Waddle this week. 13,000. Yes, please. Yes, please. Yep. Jalen Waddle, big big fan. Mentioned Burrow. I can't mention Burrow without mentioning T. Higgins. I think this week could be the week where he really makes the most of Jamar Chase not being there. Like I said, with that explosive, Carolina aren't very good at defending explosive plays. And yeah, they're number one in terms of pass percentage. The Bengals are, and lastly, you mentioned Jacobs, but let's just mention Devontae Adams again because he's just a target.
13K Devontae Adams are on.
13K Devontae Adams is glorious. I love Waddle and Devontae Adams in the 13K range. It's good. It's good.
Yep.
So a big fan of those guys. Value plays. So Arch, who have you got? You've got a value play of the week for us.
I do. Should we do? Should we?
We should.
Inconceivable. Inconceivable.
I've put up the jersey, the college jersey that I've got on the wine rack here. The number 1 of Maryland, DJ Moore is our value of the week. In the past 2 weeks since PJ Walker has taken over, Moore is 5th in the NFL in weighted opportunity rating. That's a mix of air yards and target share. Currently earning targets on 30% of his routes. He is 11th in average depth of target. DJ Moore is back, Rowan. There's no denying it. With PJ Walker, something has unlocked that we all knew was there. This week he's discounted due to a perceived, tougher Cincinnati matchup. 9.6K, DJ Moore. Yes, please. Let's just lock him in.
Did you see what Amari Cooper did to Cincinnati last week?
Yeah, tell me more.
Oh look, he went off. Amari Cooper went off. Had
Yes.
a great touchdown. DJ
What
Moore
was
is
that
good
game
as-
though? It's I don't know how
It was
much
a
we
bizarre
take away.
game.
It was a
it
weird
was
game,
very
but
bizarre.
look, I must admit I lied a little bit. That's not actually a DJ Moore jersey. That's a Stephon Diggs number 1 Maryland jersey.
was gonna
But
say.
as Diggs left Maryland, he handed over the number 1 to DJ Moore, so I counted as both, and so.
Yeah, just go with it. Value plays.
That won't match. That won't make the TikTok short. That's for sure. There you go. Peachy agrees.
Yeah. Thanks, PG.
What are we talking about? You want to talk about a few other values as well at wide receiver land? Because look, at the end of the day, the way if you're a studs and duds type lineup guy, look, I don't mind Kirk is at a similar value. Just quickly before we scroll down to the 6K guys, he's
sure.
in the situation. Look, if you look at there's Kirk Davis and DJ Moore, Josh Palmer, all at 9K. To me, they're all very similar type plays this week. Like great opportunities, great value. There's a lot of value at wide receivers that I'm gonna try to play a lot of these guys to get up to the get up to your Ecklers and your Josh Allens. Want to look at punt plays, and when I look at punt plays, I look at are they running a lot of routes, and these are guys that probably playing still 75% route participation. Matt Collins is one. Zay Jones is in play. I'm just going to run through them quickly. KJ Osborne we saw got a touchdown last week. He's always around. DeAndre Carter we mentioned earlier. Same with Josh Reynolds, Cleve Raymond, and one guy which. For my dynasty team, I'm desperate to turn into something. Oh, Terrace Marshall Jr. Oh, my goodness. Hasn't he been a disappointment? But last week, Rowan, 92% route participation, 26% targets per route run. Like, he got on the field a lot, and he earned targets. Could he actually turn into a bloody player?
I'd love to see it.
I would froth on it if he turns into something, Rowan. Like, honestly, for all the dynasty players that sort of did their wide receiver scouting, Terrace Marshall, ticked a lot of boxes and has not delivered since. So, a lot of people definitely gone for Terrace Marshall to continue a bit of usage in the offense. Just being involved, please.
That's right. Well, he's the option. He's the second option. It's not bad at all.
Tight ends?
Tight ends. Who do you like?
No one, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the truth.
You want me to talk about what are the best plays? We've kind of talked about some of the ones at the top end. Maybe Hayden Hurst. Maybe can we just actually skip the best tight end plays? Let's just go to values. So I'm only going to probably play 5 to 6K tight ends.
Yeah, let's be honest. Ingram, I don't mind though.
Yes,
Coming up
yeah,
against
yeah.
Las Vegas, and he's getting involved. He's just under 7K. He scored a touchdown. Hey, good on you, Evan. Love it.
Everett, obviously, I mentioned earlier, by the way.
Yes, that's right. Robbie T, we mentioned earlier as well. Mike Gesicki is getting involved. I think though you got to look for a guy called Durham Smythe, and if Durham Smythe is in the side, then he's going to impact the snap count. So be aware of that. But Mike Gesicki he's a decent athlete. Look, yeah, it's rough in tight end land this week. It really is. I like Conklin honestly the best at that punt play. Peachy writes in and asks, "Is Godwin good value this week?" Godwin's sitting there at 10,790. He is absolutely good value this week. Absolutely good value against a LA defense that is just it's lost its identity, that LA Rams defense. So Godwin is the guy for Tom Brady, and at 10K, I don't mind that at all. Great question, Peachy. Defense, I mean, the best defense is the Bills. If you can get to the Bills, play the Bills. Zach Wilson likes to turn it over a heck of a lot. New England Patriots, I think, is a great pay-up option as well, because you don't know what Ellinger's really going to do. You can't really be too great. Miami, really, but really, that's it. I think at the top end, I like the Bills and the Patriots. That's probably my favorite. Oh, and the Bucks, because the Bucks will be able to pressure Stafford, because Stafford just doesn't know what he's doing anymore, especially if Cooper Kupp isn't going to make it. Value plays though, Arch, should you like down the bottom?
Yeah, looking at some value. Look, Green Bay are an option at the more expensive of the value, in the 5K range against Detroit. Third in pressure percentage of the year. Detroit missing some key personnel on the offensive line. There should be a fair few sacks. Carolina, I mean, Burrow loves getting sacked. Like, I think it's one of his joys in life is just hitting the dirt with opposition defensive linemen on him. And so don't mind a bit of Carolina. And as we've mentioned earlier, and Peachy's also just writing in, Seahawks is he's probably one of my 4K guy that I'm just locking in. Against Arizona, just a few weeks ago, they scored 17 points. Do we see a repeat? My only concern is that they become chalk, and chalk defenses are to be avoided, because defenses you just can't really rely on projecting defenses. So just a little bit of a worry there, but at 4K it just makes your lineups work as well.
That's right. No, the Panthers is a good pivot.
Yeah,
I think the Panthers is a good pivot.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna quickly do our lineup build for the week. So Arch, let's start this off in quarterback land. How do we want to build this? I don't mind Justin Herbert or Josh Allen, probably my favorite two here. I'm going to leave that to you then we'll stack from there.
Should we go Herbert?
Let's do Herbert. And we're going to stack with Eckler, because he is our premium player of the week.
Absolutely.
And here's a question that I've been tossing over. Do I want to go Gerald Everett as my second piece, or do I want to go one of the wide receivers, Palmer or Carter? I think Carter I quite like as he's the cheapest, but Everett, I think I have more faith in scoring a touchdown. Where you at?
I think he's going to be more involved. Let's go Everett. I think he's the best tight end play, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. 7,500 is fantastic. Are we worrying about bringing it back, or are we going to leave it?
I'm happy to leave it, to be honest.
Let's leave it.
Can we go our value of player of the week with DJ Moore?
100% we can. DJ Moore priced way too low. Like, look.
Do you want to throw in Palmer as well, just to make a full onslaught here?
A full onslaught, you reckon? I mean, look, it's going to be different, and I like that. I like that a lot. Look, we're averaging 12K left for the rest of our pieces. Do we want to pay up here for a Jalen Waddle or an Amon-Ra? At wide receiver, quite like those guys.
I think Amon-Ra is just a lock to just score points, isn't it?
Yes.
But you probably want something on the other side. Do you want to go on Aaron Jones in this piece?
Let's do Aaron Jones. I've got 7,900 left then. 7,900 means I have to scroll past all the basement price running backs in my flex. And I'm left with guys like Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson. It's nothing super pretty there. So I'm hesitant. But Isaiah McKenzie's not too bad in terms of just having access to the Buffalo offense for cheap. Unless there's one thing you want to change before we finish.
No, I don't mind that. I think otherwise you're going to, you take Eckler out maybe to save money else, but for an onslaught, I don't mind that.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, we're going to leave it there, everybody. Thank you so much for sticking us out. We've gone long tonight, hour and 10.
Yeah, way too long.
That's way too long. Our wives are not going to be
I'll
happy.
blame the hot girls that entered the chat.
Bloody hot girls entering the chat. Everybody, thank you for joining. And don't forget to gamble responsibly, 1-800-838-838. We want to see you at the Draftstars TFL Podcast competition.
Yes.
So join us in the $5 single entry. We'll see you there. Don't forget, we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at the TFL Podcast. We would love those reviews. We'd love you to like and subscribe.
More subscribers.
That's it. We'd love to see it. Help the pod out. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to everyone in the chat. It's been awesome to have you along this week. We hope we can do it again next time. Arch, it's been fun.
Absolutely.
And we'll catch you all next time.